All right, we're going to get started in just a little bit. So hang in there, get to know some new people, and yeah, just have fun. That's really why we do these. All right, we'll get started in just a little bit. Thanks. All right, well, happy Tuesday to everybody. And it is a rainy Tuesday here in the mountains of Kentucky, southeastern Kentucky, where the workshop is. Real close to the Appalachian Mountain Range is where we call home. And I thought I would open this with showing you some pictures of the steps I took this 66-1 through. And I'll tell you a little bit about the history of the machine first. This machine started with, let me grab my notes so I get it right. This machine started with a family tradition through Grandma Joan Rutherford. Grandma Joan Rutherford is Stephanie's grandma, and she really kind of inspired the family to the earliest memories of Stephanie of what you could do underneath the needle, what you could create, and more importantly than what you could just create, how you could inspire others to see the beauty of those things that machine would make. And over time, as Grandma Rutherford aged, this machine eventually went into storage. And Stephanie was aware that this machine had gone into storage and didn't want it to, fall by the wayside. And so she decided to reach out to her grandmother and say, Grandma, I'd like to get that machine from you and put it back into use, get it fixed up, get it restored, and then carry on the family tradition. And so that machine was pulled out of storage, a very grungy machine, by the way, a very stiff machine. And Stephanie started kind of toying around with a little bit, and then eventually thought, this is out of my wheelhouse. I'm going to find someone that can get this machine running right and can allow me to carry on Grandma Rutherford's tradition. And that's how she and I connected. We met in Middlesboro, and I checked the machine out. And I said, yeah, this is a project I could definitely take on, and I can get this machine back. And I quote, to better than new. Well, mechanically, yes. Mechanically, this machine is running as good, if not better, than when it left the factory back in the day. But the patina of the machine, being a well-loved machine, has gotten worn down quite a bit. Some areas, like on the bed area and across the arm of the machine, is actually beyond the clear coat. It's actually down to the paint and the decals. So when you have a machine like this, you have to be a little bit careful how you clean it up, because without that clear coat, that shell of protection, you can do damage to the machine, and you can actually destroy the decals. So keep that in mind if you have machines in your collection that you can just tell after you wipe over it, you don't get that luster coming back. It's kind of a flat, muted appearance. That means your clear coat is gone. And when these machines were put together in the factory and they were born back in the day, they only get about 3 coats of clear coat. And those coats of clear coat are so thin that with a lot of use, like Grandma Rutherford put this machine through over decades, that clear coat eventually is just gone. And so there are ways to re-clear coat machines like this. I've done it. But with a machine like this, part of the tale of the love of the machine is the wear of the machine. And so it's nothing that Stephanie and I talked about. We did talk about a cabinet that she has a little bit, but the machine still, even with all the wear and the clear coat nearly gone on many parts of the machine, is just drop dead gorgeous, don't you think? As you look at this machine, she is just spectacular. And the chrome has been cleaned up. You can kind of see that, and you'll see that through the progress shots as well. Look at that faceplate. And you can tell right away with that faceplate that this is a machine from the early 1900s. In the early 1900s, they had these incredibly ornate, scrolly type faceplates that were indicative of the machines of that period. Later on, as they moved into the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and beyond, they simplified this faceplate significantly. And they really took away, I think, a lot of the beauty of the Class 66 series. But you get kind of an idea as you look at this faceplate, just how utterly spectacular Stephanie's machine is, that she got from Grandma Rutherford. And same thing with other chrome parts. Interestingly, when I picked this machine up, or I should say when Stephanie dropped it off, it didn't have this plate on it right here. And so this is actually my plate that I put on the machine so I could do this live stream today. And I'll take it off once we're done with the live stream. And then Stephanie, I'll explain to her how she can get hers back on. Also, the same thing with the balance wheel. You kind of see the balance wheel has signs of wear, some of the paint loss, but I was able to restore the luster and the beauty of that chromium surface on that balance wheel. And when you're cleaning up chrome, realize that chrome very much like clear coat, um, has very, very thin layers on it. Very, very thin layers. So whatever approach you decide to take it gently and take it slowly so that you don't destroy that chrome finish on the machine. And also on these Class 66 machines, they've got this upper tension unit that has a very delicate spring on it. So as you're wiping over the machine, say with a microfiber cloth, and you're kind of cleaning the machine up a little bit, keep that cloth well clear of your upper tension, because otherwise you're going to accidentally snag that spring, stretch it, bend it, or even break it, and you're going to be out of commission. So stay real clear of that spring as you're trying to clean up your Class 66 machine, okay? Stay real clear of it. Let's see. So I also should mention, well, let me do this. I'm going to give you the serial number for this 66-1. And I want you to look it up and tell me what year this machine was born. You know, give me the whole birthday. Give me the month, the day, and the year of when this machine that came through Grandma Rutherford and now is in Stephanie's hands. Tell me when this machine was born, month, day, and year. And then do some math. I know it's early in the morning to do math, but do some math and tell me how many years old this Singer 66-1 is. And I'm going to tell you that this machine is older than Grandma Rutherford. Grandma Joan Rutherford, Stephanie shared with me, is a very young 89 years old. 89 years old. So I'll tell you that Grandma Rutherford wasn't even born when this machine was born out in Elizabethport, New Jersey, at the Singer Sewing Machine Factory. So the serial number for this machine is, and if somebody wants to type it into the live chat as well, that would be great. The serial number for this machine is G like George, 2548615. So again, that's G like George, 2548615. And then you'll be able to look up the birth date of this amazing legacy machine within Stephanie's family. It was carried through generations leading up to Grandma Rutherford getting the machine. She didn't get it brand new because she wasn't even born when this machine came on the scene, but she had it for decades and created so many masterpieces for the family. And now Stephanie is going to carry that tradition on. So let's look up the date to start, and I'll take you through some of the progress shots that I ended up texting to Stephanie as I took this incredible Singer machine through a metamorphosis and got all those layers and layers and layers of old oil and grease and scum off of the machine and brought it back to greatness again. Let me see if I can find those pictures. Hold on one second. I had it open and then it went back to the beginning again. So doggone it. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me see if I can open this up and get to it faster by actually opening up the pictures. I share a lot of pictures with the customer as I'm taking the machine through the process. And poor Stephanie probably, her phone was basically catching on fire because as I go through steps, I'll take pictures. I'll wait a little bit as I go through additional steps, and then I'll start sending pictures. And there's lag time. So her phone will go quiet for a second and she's thinking, oh, great, that's all there is. And then boom, 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 it goes off again. So I love to start with the badge mark of the machine. The badge mark is kind of, it's just the point of pride for the machine. And you can see this particular badge mark had a lot of caramelization covering its beauty. And so I start picking away at that and going through that caramelization step by step. There you can start to see a window to that badge mark starting to be revealed. The luster and the beauty of that badge mark. It really is the beauty mark of the machine. I'm just going to start scrolling through. There we go. There's more of it coming back. Oh, wow. Wow. What? That is gorgeous, isn't it? And that's one of the first things you see every time you sit down to the machine. And if you have somebody coming into your sewing space, that's the first thing that they see. They go, "Oh my gosh, is that like really gold?" Well, if I did a machine for President Donald Trump, it probably would be gold because he loves gold, doesn't he? He loves everything gold. But this is actually brass. And oh boy, it just comes back to life, doesn't it? There you can see more of a distance shot. I'm just going to keep going through it. I've got so many pictures. I'm just going to keep going and going and going and going. And eventually, I'll either get these posted on my Google profile or I'll get them posted on Facebook. I haven't done any posts on Facebook for a while, and I've been getting notes from people saying, "Hey, what's up?" Here you can see I'm beginning to clean up the body of the machine. And again, because most of the clear coat is gone, you got to be real gentle. Otherwise, you're going to actually strip the paint off and damage the decals. And you'll know if you've gone too far in decals because they'll start to turn silver instead of gold. Whoops. Continue clean up on the machine. Starting to focus on some of those chromium pieces. And again, with chrome, be careful because it is a very thin layer of chrome on these different adornments on these 66-1s and certainly the 66 series. There you can see, if I go back one, you can see it's just got a grunginess to it. It's got a grunginess, and there's really no luster and beauty. This is the eye candy. These chromium pieces, certainly the badge mark, is the eye candy of the machine. And right now, it's not too sexy, is it? But we'll get there. We'll get there, layer by layer by layer by layer. Like I said to Stephanie, I'm basically removing decades of crud in a matter of hours. But it's a very cautious and a very careful process. There you can see it. I'm kind of looking over my shoulder at the computer at the same time. And all of a sudden, that beauty starts to come back. There, I've torn apart the upper tension unit. The upper tension unit on this just had layers and layers of crud, old oil, dirt, scum, you name it. And so you've got to break that unit completely down. Susie and I recently visited a local sewing center that really specializes in quilting. And we met a young lady that's an aspiring, she's an aspiring technician that's going to work on sewing machines and is learning the business from the owner. And when I started to, chat with her, it was apparent that she doesn't know the trade yet. And so when she was talking, she made some general statements about tearing the machine all the way down. She wouldn't go this far because she wouldn't know how to put it back together. She would be calling Susie and I and saying, "Help, help." I'm not even sure the owner knows how to tear an upper tension unit down like this and clean it properly because they specialize mainly in contemporary Janome machines. So, at any rate, there you go. I'm going to look over my shoulder. There we go. Starting to dig into it. Very delicate springs. Be real careful if you tear one of these apart, that you're real gentle with the spring. Keep your microfiber cloth away from it. And definitely do not use a Dremel tool. Do not use a Dremel tool. You can see from this to that. But imagine each one of these pictures I texted to Stephanie, and her phone is going beep, 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 beep. Look at those Q-tips. Oh, my Lord. Yikes. There's part of the upper tension unit there, doing some deep cleaning on that as well. And why do I spend so much time to clean up the machine? Do I want to get a Better Homes and Gardens sticker from somebody? No, it's because all of that dirt holds the machine back. All of that filth, the old oil, the old grease, it holds that machine back from being able to do what it was designed originally to do. So you've got to get rid of the dirt, and then you've got to focus on fine tuning and adjusting that machine so that it's able to perform those tasks better than new. Otherwise, it's never ever going to be able to deliver the goods in the condition that it was. There, I'm getting that spring set and everything, beginning the calibration process of getting that spring ready. Actually, using the caliper tool to check the height of that tension spring that's in that unit, and it was way, way, way compressed. And that happens over time. So I've got to stretch that spring back out very carefully and then put it back into position. There we go. That's the right height. There's our unit complete, and boy, oh boy, is it ready to get the job done. Ah, that's not a sewing machine. That's Susie's and my backyard. And you can catch a little glimpse of the dogs out there early in the morning. We're actually above the clouds. You can actually see the clouds there and the mountain ranges below. And the puppies are out there doing their thing. I've got a couple shots like that, and then we'll get back into the pictures of the machine. Hold on a second. There we go. So inside of the faceplate on this 66-1, someone had applied what looked like motor oil that you would buy at the automotive store to the various parts. Never do that. Oil like that is designed for an engine, an internal combustion engine. It's not designed for a sewing machine that's open air. Open air meaning that those parts are not encased in metal. They're exposed to the air. They're exposed to all the environmental things in your sewing space. And what's going to happen is, you see that stuff on there? It's going to draw all the dirt to those moving parts. That's actually like a motor oil on there. I don't know if it's 10W30 or what it was. Someone had good intentions, but the outcome is bad. So you'll see me starting to strip that stuff off. Look at that. Q-tip is just soaked with that motor oil type stuff. So yeah, don't use that oil. Use only crystal white, lily white sewing machine oil on your machines. And if you use a little bit of kerosene, that's always a good thing because it inhibits rust naturally. There's more of that oil coming off. You can kind of see it soaked on the pad that I'm using to swab it off with. I'm just going to go through these real quick. More cleanup. That was all shrouded in that oil, and now it's starting to get its luster and beauty back again. Focusing on the raceway. And this particular machine has a horizontal oscillating hook system. If anyone in the chat that is a fellow teacher wants to explain a little bit the difference between a rotary hook system and an oscillating hook system, go ahead and type that in the live chat. And that way, folks that are brand new to us can benefit from your knowledge that you've gained through our classroom. More cleanup in the raceway. This particular little band right here, this metal band, is what holds the plate on that was missing on this machine when I met Stephanie to collect it up. It was bent out of shape, and so the plate that they have back at home probably would not stay on. So I had to replace this band. You sometimes can heat them up with a torch and then bend them back so that they're more flat. There's too much of a bend in this right now, so it doesn't hold the plate on. It's got to be about 20 to 25% flatter than it is in this shot. And also the screw is broken as well. You can see that right there. The screw that holds it is actually split in half. So I also had to replace that screw as well. But if you're having problems with your plate staying on, it's because your metal band that holds it in place is too contoured. It's too beveled up. It needs to be flattened down. There's more cleanup in the raceway. You can kind of see that. There's two contrasts between one that is at the proper pitch and the other one that's got too much pitch, so it's not holding that plate on. Let's go through these rather quickly. More cleanup. There's kind of a distant shot of a very busy, extended workbench. I've got so many machines in the workshop right now. I don't have enough space to put it on the main workbench, so I'm using one of these tables. And that's how I'm going to be presenting this machine, as well as on one of these tables. There's part of the raceway bobbin case, and also part of the raceway mechanism that allows the bobbin to be ejected. And all that needs to be cleaned up as well. So I'm going through that, cleaning that up also. That's the brain center for the sewing machine. That's got to be absolutely clean with just a light coat of oil. And there I'm using a little bit of an after cleaner to get some of that oil residue off before I put a light coat of oil back on it and get it put back into the machine. More cleanup, more cleanup, more cleanup. And there's a raceway right there that you can be proud of, but it's also going to do the job. More cleanup, focusing on that faceplate now, that eye candy for the machine, getting that back into a condition. And you see me using a Dremel tool on the faceplate there. I do that because I'm skilled enough to do it. If you're using a Dremel tool on a faceplate, you've got to be really, really careful, or any chrome pieces, because again, that layer of chrome is incredibly thin. It's about the thickness of a piece of paper, if that gives you an idea. So if you're using a Dremel tool that's spinning at 1,000 to 1,500 revolutions per minute, you've got to be a real light touch on that chromium surface. Otherwise, you're going to strip it down to bare metal, and you're going to know right away, because it's going to look green, kind of a yellow-green color. Then you've gone too far, and there's no going back at that point. All you can do is live with it, or hire someone professionally to use a chromium process to re-chrome that piece again. So be real careful. And there's a beautiful faceplate restored back to its eye candy and back to its beauty again. But I like to show these progress pictures. I know it's a laborious process, but it gives you, and it certainly gives a customer, an appreciation for the depth of what I do. I don't know anyone else in the world that goes into contemporary machines and vintage machines and antique machines at the level that I do. It's an unprecedented service level, and that's exactly what the machine deserves, right? That's exactly what the machine deserves. Oh, wow, there we go. And you'll notice that you can tell right away the Class 66-1 from the other subclasses in the 66 family, because the presser foot mounts to the rear of the presser foot bar. It does not mount to the side. So you'll see right there, this part right here is what goes to the back, and then there's a big screw that goes through there and holds it in place. I'll just go through these rather quickly. I also noted that at some point, someone had made an adjustment to the height of the presser foot bar. Right here, I've got it all the way down, but it's not even making contact with the feed dogs. It's about 3 millimeters up. So I had to adjust the presser foot bar so that we would be able to feed material during the live stream today. Otherwise, we'd be spinning our wheels. So if you make any adjustments to your machine, make sure you know why you're doing it and what you're doing. Otherwise, that's got to be corrected for the machine to function properly, okay? You can see the gap there. Ha ha! Yeah, we wouldn't be sewing at all today. There, I'm just using my caliper for other measurements, trying to get things back into place. Focusing on that balance wheel. And also our bobbin winding assembly on this. You can see kind of what the condition was of that. A combination of rust and crud and old oil and everything else. And this is a mechanical mechanism, so it's not going to function properly in the condition that it was when it came to the workshop. They're going to use a Dremel brush, but it's a soft touch Dremel brush. It's got multiple little wires on there, and I can very gently go over those chrome surfaces without the greater likelihood of damaging it. There, I'm starting to clean that up. You can see that crud coming off. More chrome pieces to try to clean up. And you'll notice that I add an oil to the areas that I'm going to be using the Dremel tool on. You should do the same thing. You add like a sewing machine oil to that surface so that it creates a buffer against the heat and the friction that Dremel tool generates. If you don't add that oil, you're going to cut through that chrome real quick and damage the surface. So you add that as a buffer. Make sure you put a little coat on there, and then you can use that Dremel on there. You still got to use a light touch, but you can have more of an effective cleaning process without causing damage. There we go. And that's about as bright as this stop action is going to get. Some of the stop actions had a heavy lacquer of chrome on them. Others had a lighter one, and it's just a nice clean surface now. Now we're focusing on the balance wheel, the inside of the balance wheel, getting that all cleaned up as well. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's kind of terrifying, isn't it? Now you already know the answer to this. If you were to take your Singer 66-1 to a local sew and vac, would you get this level of service? No, you wouldn't. Your machine would go in there filthy and encrusted, and it would come out filthy and encrusted. It definitely would. We've got the machine tilted back, and we're focusing on the bottom now. There's so many moving parts on the bottom of the 66-1. You've got to get them all freed up from all of that encrusted mess that's on there. And there you can see an empty workbench. And that's a signal to Stephanie and to all of you that my work is complete. My work is complete. So that only gives you a sampling. You could take those number of photos times about 3 or 4, and those are the additional steps that I didn't document with my phone. So it's going to be fun to showcase this machine today so you can gain an appreciation for what a workshop magic enriched machine looks like. Okay? Yeah. Oh, I should show some other pictures real quick too before I forget. The last live stream we did, I had mentioned something about totally blanking right now. I had mentioned something about Jenny and the fact that she had shared. Oh, I know. I was talking about the leadership team interacting with each other, and I love to see those friendships fostered. A lot of our leaders become very, very good friends, not only during a live stream, but outside of the live stream as well. And Jenny and Susie were talking, Jenny from Ohio. And Jenny had mentioned that she was working on a project, I believe, using her 66-1 that she has. She also has a Class 66 machine. I think it's a -1. Jenny would be able to tell us if the pressure foot is mounted on the rear, then it's a -1. If it's mounted on the side, then it's one of the other subclasses in the 66 family. But the ladies have been talking, and Jenny shared some pictures of a baptism outfit that she had made for a family member, and that was just sent out to North Carolina about a week ago. So I'm seeing if I can find those pictures, seeing if I can share those with you. Okay, here they are. And what I understand is that Jenny she did a lot of this just freelance. She used a pattern to do a few little things, and then she took it the rest of the way. just with her intuition and her skill. So here's a picture of that outfit, the baptismal outfit that she made. Isn't that gorgeous with all the ruffles and everything? And this is something that Jenny decided to share with Susie during the live stream. And I wanted to share it with all of you so you can just appreciate how incredibly talented the Cow Country family is. And this is the photo that Jenny used as kind of her compass to try to recreate this baptismal outfit. And Jenny could tell you who these people are, probably your grandmother. I love the shoes. Don't you love the shoes? But I love the fact that certain leaders like Jenny and others will develop incredible friendships and trust with other leaders that are part of the Cow Country family. And it's possible that these leaders will never meet each other face to face, but they are engaged with each other during live streams. They're engaged with each other outside of live streams, sharing, maybe they're sick, maybe they're facing surgery like Candido did recently. And they reach out to that friend that they've never met, but they love that person because they're engaged in live streams like this. They're engaged in other things, and they become friends, and they become a part of each other's life. And that's kind of what Susie and Jenny have done, and certainly Susie and Teresa and Susie and the list goes on of other leaders that have become friends of me, friends of Susie, friends of others. And sometimes they'll share their information with other leaders as well. And then that network within the Cow Country family grows and grows and grows and grows. But it's such a blessing to have friendships like that, isn't it? With people that have shared interests and shared loves of sowing and creating things for their families. And sometimes those things are created, by going back to a vintage picture and saying, I'd like to try to recreate that dress. I don't have a pattern, but I'm going to use my skill and my determination to try to recreate a piece from the past so that someone that's being baptized now can have a piece of their family history carried forward. Isn't that cool? Isn't that the coolest thing ever? And we're so blessed to have people like Jenny and others that are part of our family, and Teresa and Tim and Candido and Rachel, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on around the world with people that have been a part of the Cow Country family. And we're so blessed to have them in our family, aren't they? Aren't we? Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm blah, blah, blahing. I'm blah, blah, blahing. So, I also wanted to show you as well one other thing. I found this. I found this in a box with a bunch of material on the very bottom of the box for sew-offs. And this is what I was trying to describe to you. It's a step up and step down converter. And the reason that this thing is so useful is you might be on eBay, or you might be on Etsy or somewhere else, and you see a machine for sale over in England. Well, over in England, they run off of 250 volts. How in heaven's name could you ever use a machine like that, even if you love the machine? Let's say it comes from my dear friend Alex Askaroff, and he's deciding to sell a featherweight 221K that is running on 250 volts. You can buy that machine from Alex and use something like this to plug that machine into, so it will step up your voltage in your home here in the US, all the way up to 250 volts. Or the opposite, someone over in Europe sees a machine that you're selling that runs on US voltage, and they go, oh my goodness, I would love to buy that machine, but I'll destroy it if I plug into our voltage here because we run at 250 or 230 or 220 or whatever it is, wherever you are in the world. You can use one of these to plug that machine in over in Europe, and you can take your voltage that's on that European grid that's over 200 volts and step it down to 110, 120. So my point is, these are really a wonderful tool to have because you can enjoy machines from around the world, whether you're in the US, whether you're over in North Africa, whether you're in Australia, it doesn't matter. You're going to be able to use any sewing machine in the world, wherever you are in the world, using something like this. And just remember, the average sewing machine is going to use a little bit less than 200 watts to operate. So if you're going to be operating, say, multiple machines off of a step up or step down converter like this, you may want to get one that's rated higher. They go much higher than 200 watts. And they also have adapters as well that come with this kit so that if the particular machine you have won't plug into this, there's a plug-in that you can add to this that they include with this package. So you can then plug that machine in that's in Switzerland or from Switzerland, because some of those plugs are going to be different. They're going to look different. You know, for example, I'll show you a foot controller that you would use on a machine in Germany. Let me show you that real quick. See if I can find it. I think I have it somewhere. Yeah, here I go. So if you have a Swedish beauty that would use a foot controller like this in the US, you're going to have a blade style plug-in. But when you're in Germany, you're going to have a plug-in like this. And the outlets in Germany, having lived in Germany for 3 years, the outlets in Germany are going to be similar to this. They're going to have two little holes that you'll plug something like this similar into. And just be careful if you're ever traveling abroad, because they have a lot of adapters you can put on your US stuff to plug into outlets. But remember, unless your item like a hair dryer or a radio or something like that is dual voltage and has an adapter like this built into it, I'm trying to reach for it, has an adapter like this built into it that will allow you to run on two different voltages, putting that adapter on and plugging it in, you're going to destroy whatever you're trying to operate in that environment. If the voltage is, 220, 250, and that device is only set up for 110 to 125. So just be careful wherever you are. But these are a wonderful, wonderful tool. After I presented this a number of years ago, I believe, Susie went out and bought one, and I'm guessing a number of others went out and bought one as well. And so I'm going to keep this on the workbench now. So when I get my next machine in from Europe or from around the world and it's on a different voltage, I'll be able to operate that machine safely in the workshop and present it to all of you, just like I did that one Swedish beauty that came in from London, England, and I was able to operate it using that step-up converter just like it was back over in London. And that's the beauty of technology, isn't it? Yeah, that's the beauty of technology. All right. So I'm going to run down, and Susie's already done the due diligence of looking up all the different subclasses that are in the 66 class family. But I'm going to run down them real quickly for you, and then Susie will post them in the live chat so you can appreciate that the 66-1 that was designed specifically to operate as a treadle machine was the very first in the class of 66 machines. And it was introduced all the way back in the early 1900s, the first Class 66 machine was introduced in the US in 1902. 1902 was the very first Class 66 machine, and it would have been a 66-1. And the 66 class was produced from 1902 to 1956. So if someone wants to type that into the live chat, so it's in the live chat, that would be great. So the 66 class was introduced 1902, produced until 1956 in the United States, but it was a little bit different over in England and the European market. They didn't introduce the Class 66 machine until 1907. So 5 years after it was rolled out in the US, it was finally rolled out over in the United Kingdom and other parts of that region and that world. And then over there, it was only produced until about 1939. So in the US, 1902 to 1956, over in the UK area, 1907 to about 1939. There are some people reporting on the internet that it was produced over in Europe until 1948, but I don't believe that that's reliable. I think that people are making some numbers up. And some of you may not know this, but when the Class 66 series was retired, finally in 1956 in the US and 1939 over in the UK, there was another machine sitting in the wings getting ready to take over the proud legacy of the 66 class series. Does anyone know what class machine that was and what machine that was? Type that in the live chat if you would. What machine was sitting in the wings, tapping its little bobbin, getting excited about pushing the 66 into history and taking over that proud legacy for a full-size workhorse type machine like that? Anyone know? I saw Jenny posted a question. The answer is yes. The machines that would have been made over in the UK will be marked as, or at least will by serial number, will be marked as a K series, indicating they were made over in the European market versus the US. And they're going to be set up just a little bit differently, but the base of the machine is going to be identical. The ones that were made in the UK versus the ones made in the US. So does anyone know what machine was getting ready to take over for the Class 66 machine? Not the 99K. That's a great guess, Tim. That's a great guess. The 99K would have actually been on the scene in the same time frame as the 66. So it was already in the works, and you can actually see just beyond Stephanie's machine, I actually have let me see if I can move this out of the way a little bit. I actually have a 99K right over here that I used to wind a bobbin with. I couldn't very well wind a bobbin on this treadle machine because I don't have it in a treadle table. So I use this 99K to actually wind the bobbin. And the 99Ks, I would have to do a little bit of research. I don't remember specifically. Let's see. I want to say 1920s. I'm trying to do an AI search real quick right now to refresh my. Oh, yeah. Actually, earlier than that, the 99K was actually introduced in 1911. 1911. So the first in this series over here would have been rolled out in 1911. So just about, probably about nine years, less than a decade after the 66 came on the scene. So the 66 came on the scene, and about 9 or 10 years later, the 99K would have been introduced in that series of 3/4 size machines that Singer made. But there was another machine that had not come on the scene yet. And I don't know if anyone guessed it or not yet. I'm going to go back to my other screen. And it's not the Class 15 either. Okay, I'm looking further up in the chat. Susie actually nailed it. It was the 201. The 201 was waiting in the wings to come onto the scene as they were getting ready to finally retire the Class 66 machine. And the 201 would have been introduced right around 1935. So the 201 came on the scene right near the end, well, about 2 decades before they ended up phasing out the 66 class. The 201 would have come on the scene right around 1935. And already for 2 decades, the 99K had already been on the scene. So the 99K as a 3/4 version with an oscillating hook system as well would have been competing against each other. The Class 66, the Class 99, and it really came down to, did someone want a full size machine or did they want a 3/4 size machine like this 99K? And trying to see if I had any other notes. It looks like the 201 that took over for the 66 would have been produced until around 1961. There's others that report 1964. I'm going to go with 1964 on this one because that means they phased out the 201 class that took over for the 66 class when I was born, 1964. So yeah, let's go with that one. But let me just rattle down the subclasses of this machine that belonged to Grandma Rutherford, Joan Rutherford, and now Stephanie is going to be carrying forward that proud tradition with this 66-1. So the 66-1, again, as a treadle-specific machine, would have been rolled out first, and then came the 66-3, which was a hand crank version of this machine. Then the 66-4, which was mounted with an electric motor. The 66-5, which went back to a hand crank again. The 66-6, which would have been identical to the 66-4, but instead of having a spoke wheel, it had a solid balance wheel. Then the 66-8, which would have had a stitch length adjuster with a lever instead of a thumb screw adjustment like on this one that belongs to Stephanie. It would have had a lever that you could move up and down on the 66-8. I'm not going to read all the details or I'm going to run out of breath. Then the 66-14, the 66-15, back to a hand crank again, the 66-16, the 66, I missed one, 66-13, 66-16, 66-18, 66-19, 66-20, and the 66-24. I don't even know if I captured them all, but you get the idea. As Susie will post those into the live chat, there were a lot of subclasses within this 66 series, and they all had a slightly different flavor. Some of them you could put in a treadle table. Some of them were electrified. Some of them were hand cranked. Some of them had a spoke balance wheel. Some of them had a solid balance wheel. Some of them had different bobbin winding assemblies as well. So they just went through a number of phases within this class series when it was first introduced from 1902 all the way until 1956. Okay? So let's start to get into this machine a little bit. And you might say to yourself, I don't know a lot about the Class 66 machine, but doesn't it need to be in a table or in a base because it doesn't sit level? Doesn't it sit kind of cockeyed? Isn't it almost getting ready to tip over? The answer is yes, it is. Well, how do I have it so it's stable right now so we can actually do this live stream today? It's a combination of things I picked up at Walmart, okay? On the rear pedestal leg, I've got one of these to level it up so that it's pitched forward and almost completely level. On the front pedestal foot, I've got one of these because I can't use one of these. It'll push it back the other way and then it won't be level. So this is under the first pedestal foot. This is under the rear pedestal foot. And then the other support that's right underneath the raceway, I've got one of these so that it won't skid around. So innovation, adaptation, whatever it takes to get a customer's machine underneath the bright lights and in a live stream, I'm going to do it. So it only took 3 packages to be able to get Stephanie's machine level so that I could present it to you, all of you today, and be able to crank off stitches using a combination of my finger and then also this little, whatever this thing is called. I guess it's called almost, it's used like an apothecary work, isn't it? To bust up pills and stuff like that. What is this called? A pestle? Is this called a pestle, or is it the thing you crush things in called a pestle? Anybody that's got a pharmacy background or apothecary experience, tell me what this gadget is called. I picked it up somewhere, I think, for 50 cents, and I've used it for all kinds of things, including turning treadle machines when the machine is not in a treadle table. All right, let me put on a little bit more ragtime music, because that's kind of the period that this machine would have been in, kind of the pre-ragtime period. And then we'll go ahead and do some sew-offs on this machine so we can put it to work. All right, I'm looking for my music. It's somewhere here. Here we go. All right, I'm going to pause the music. Well, what you saw me do kind of in the background is I wanted to wind one more Class 66 bobbin. And this is what a Class 66 bobbin looks like. This is actually a very, very good quality aftermarket version. The original Class 66 bobbins would have had only 2 holes in them. So if you've got a Class 66 machine, whether it's a 66 made in the US or a 66K, and you've got original bobbins that have just 2 holes, then you have the earliest Class 66 bobbins that Singer ever made. And it really doesn't matter whether you have 2 holes or 4, just so you're able to put it on the bobbin winder and it lines up with that little pin that is adjacent to the bobbin winder right here. And that's what you got to be careful of as you change out machines and you swap parts and everything. For example, like on the 1591, that is another Singer model. It's got that potted motor on the back. Well, the 201-2, also made by Singer, also has a potted motor, but it's got an entirely different bobbin winder, because you're going to be winding on that 201-2. You're going to be winding a Class 66 bobbin like this, not a Class 15. So bobbin winders are specific to the machine, so you're able to wind the bobbin that machine is designed to operate with. So just make sure as you're, doing some MacGyver type work that you don't set yourself up in failure. When I was really, really young in restoring machines, I made the mistake of putting a potted motor on a 1591, and then I went to try to wind a bobbin, and I couldn't do it because it had the pin for the Class 66 bobbin, and the 15 wouldn't fit on it, wouldn't wind properly. So we all learn from experience, right? Experience teaches us all kinds of lessons about working with vintage, antique machines, and certainly contemporary machines as well. So I don't know how many Class 66 bobbins Stephanie has, as we'll be meeting soon for her to collect this machine back up. But I've got extra Class 66 bobbins. If she needs them, we can work out a deal. We'll work out a deal. Okay. So I think I'm done with my 99K right now. I've already wound a bobbin on it. So I'm going to go ahead and push that to the back and push this other one to the front so that we can get going on this machine. And as far as the setup on this 66-1 today, I'll tell you that I'm set up with my beloved Schmetz 9014 universal needle. It's going to look like this, and you can buy a 10-pack of these at Walmart for right around $7 or $8. And this is the a great medium range type needle. It's going to be big enough to sew leather. It's going to have that universal tip, so you can go through a wide field of materials, as we're going to do today, and you can sew it successfully. The universal needles, if you don't know it, they do not have a sharp serrated point. They've got a slightly rounded point. So they're designed to go through without destroying woolen materials and a variety of other materials. So when we go through leather today, a lot of leather, we're actually going to be punching through that leather using this needle, not cutting through it. So it'll give you an idea of how strong this 66 machine is, or maybe how strong my finger is, one of the two. And then we're also going to be using Coats & Clark dual duty XP thread to do our sew-offs today. It's a nice thread that will also allow you to do hand sewing with it as well. So if you've got dual duty XP thread at home, you can use it for your sewing machines. You can use it for hand sewing. You can use it for a variety of different things. Let's see. I guess I can walk you around the machine. This is such a simple, straightforward machine, but I'll walk you around the machine just briefly. Let's see here. So over here we have presser foot pressure right next to this beautiful ornamental faceplate. If you're sewing something thicker, heavier, multiple layers, whatever it is, you're going to be turning this clockwise to increase the presser foot pressure. If you're sewing something lighter, like we're going to be doing today, some velvet, then you can turn it counterclockwise so it's not pushing down as hard on that material and potentially going to cause damage or cause puckering or other issues with that material, okay? Over here we have our upper tension. When you take out an upper tension like this, I'm going to get a sip of tea real quick. When you take out an upper tension like this, it's going to have a release screw right here. But when these upper tensions have been in the machine for sometimes a half a century, it's going to be real difficult to get that unit out. And in one of these live streams, I'll show you how to take that unit out without damaging it. But even as an initial step, you can take off this screw piece right here, remove that tension screw that you saw me in the photos expanding again because it was compressed, taking out your tension discs, and at a minimum, at least cleaning your tension discs. I've seen people try to swab things between the tension discs and that. It doesn't get them clean. You saw in the photos that I showed you of Stephanie's upper tension unit, it was just covered in crud. It was encrusted, and swabbing something in between, to try to clean those tension discs, it's not going to get the job done. So whatever you end up doing, taking it apart very carefully and trying to at least get those tension discs clean is at least a good first start. We've got our bobbin cover right here. Again, that's my plate because Stephanie had left hers at home. You just slide this out. And I saw in the manual that they were trying to show you how to put this on with your needle plate on. I don't recommend that. The best way to put this plate on so you don't stretch, remember I showed you that little metal band that on Stephanie's, it was warped out of shape and it wasn't holding the plate on anymore. The way those get warped is over time, but also by trying to stretch them too much by putting the plate on with the needle plate on. When you're cleaning your machine and you're getting into your raceway area and that, you want to make sure, let me get a little bit closer. You want to make sure that you take these two screws out to take your needle plate off, and then you can slide this plate from left to right off of that tension band that's underneath it. If you try forcing it from right to left, if you try to slide it on with a needle plate on, you're going to be bending that little band out of shape, which is probably what happened to Grandma Rutherford's over time, is trying to clean all that lint out and that sort of thing. They were forcing this up and down, this little plate, and they were bending that little band out of shape. So take this off first, slide your plate from left to right. It'll come off very easily. And then do the same thing when you go to put it back on. With the needle plate off, put your bobbin plate on, slide it down the track until it catches the little metal band, and then it'll slide and lock right into place, so it's locked in place, okay? And then you can put your needle plate on afterwards. When you're putting your bobbin on in the machine, make sure your thread is over the top. In other words, when you're putting it on, the thread will be coming over the top, kind of like this. You can see that in the shot, hopefully. You drop it in, and then you draw that thread to the rear so that it's underneath the tension disc, the little tension band that's in there. If you need to take your bobbin out for some reason, they have this wonderful little ejector right here, this little button right here. And all you do is push it, and it pushes the bobbin up. I'm not going to eject it because I don't want it ejected right now, but it's a lot easier than trying to grab with your fingernail or something like that underneath the edges. Yeah, very, very nice. There we go. What else? Oh, I'll show you this over here too. Adjust my screen a little bit. So here we've got our stitch length adjuster right here. When it's turned all the way clockwise as far as it'll go, so it's all the way up against the body of the machine like I have it right now, you're going to get the longest stitch possible for this Singer 66-1. It's going to be right around 7 to 8 stitches per inch. You're not going to get all the way down into that 6 stitches per inch range, right around 7 to 8. And as you want to stitch smaller with more stitches, you turn it counterclockwise. And the only thing about this thumb screw is you really don't know exactly how far you're going. I've seen some people take a permanent marker when it's screwed all the way in and mark a little point at the 12 o'clock position. There's nothing wrong with that. If that makes it easier for you to adjust that stitch length and remember approximately how far you turned it, you can certainly do that. So you just take a little permanent marker, put it right at the 12 o'clock position, and that way as you turn it counterclockwise, you can say, oh, I'm going to turn it to the 9 o'clock position or the 6 o'clock position, or I'm going to turn it all the way over here to the 3 o'clock position to get, 12 stitches per inch or whatever your goal is. So that certainly is an approach. And that's why eventually, because of the confusion that this thumb screw stitch length adjuster can create, that's why eventually when I read through those subclasses, you saw that they added a lever pretty early on. They added it pretty early on to the model, what was it? Trying to see what model it was. I want to say it was probably the 66-8. The 66-8, I believe, was one of the first ones that added a lever versus the thumb screw. And then over here we have our bobbin winder. I can't really demonstrate bobbin winding on this because I don't have any way of giving it locomotion, but you're going to set up this machine the same way I did the 99K in order to wind a bobbin. So you're first of all going to come off your spool on top. See if I can do it like this. You're going to come off your spool on top. You're going to go through this thread guide right over here. The same one that we have it threaded to sew with right now. You're then going to come across your machine like this. Come all the way across. And there's going to be a little notch right here. Let me see if I can get real close to it without disconnecting my camera, hopefully. So after you come across the machine, there's a little notch right here. So you're going to be drawing that thread through that little notch. And then from that little notch, you're going to come up between, I always call them the gold posts right here. And then from here, the gold posts, you'll then be wrapping it around the bobbin, almost like if we were to put a bobbin on there right now. You're going to be wrapping it around the bobbin. Hold on a second. Oh, that's cool. I was just noticing something. Hold on one second. This is going to be one of those aftermarket bobbins, and the rim is just wide enough that it won't fit past that lever. I'm going to have to look at that. But anyway, you'll mount the bobbin on there, and then you'll start winding with the treadle, and you'll have to take your stop action out. So you'll hold the balance wheel, and you'll turn the stop action towards you, and then all you'll get is locomotion from the balance wheel, not from the needle. And you can see how freely moving that is right now after the service and doing the process that I do on them. So yeah, and then once you're ready to resume sewing, you'll hold your balance wheel, turn your stop action to the rear, and lock it back in place again. All right, I think that's about it. That's all I wanted to show you, really. There's no way to drop the feed dogs on this Class 66 machine. So if you want to do free motion quilting with it or something like that, you'll have to add a darning plate to it to cover that up. All right. Get this back into position. The other thing I'm going to do to adapt the machine a little bit to make it easier on me is I'm going to actually take off the bobbin winder for the live stream. And that is because where the treadle belt comes through right over here from the table, it's got to be real close to the balance wheel. And especially when it's engaged, it's going to be really, really close, kind of like this, right next to the balance wheel. And my finger will keep hitting this, or my little winder thing here will keep hitting it while I'm trying to give locomotion to the machine. So I'm just going to take it off. And there's only one screw that holds it on. I'm going to go ahead and take that screw out. And then I'll be able to go ahead and turn this machine without jamming my finger or without breaking my little wooden stick. I'm just going to take this piece off. Couple more turns. Couple more turns. Should have gotten a smaller screwdriver. Couple more turns. It's a short little screw, but boy, oh boy, does it go in there. So you can see I've just taken off this bobbin assembly, the bobbin winding assembly, and I'm going to set it to the side right now, and then eventually, after the live stream, I'll put this back on. I'm also going to check the clearance between this lever and the bobbin winder, because right now the tolerance on there for the aftermarket ones is too tight to slide that bobbin on. So I've got to look at that and go ahead and make an adjustment to that so that you can wind a bobbin on this one as well. Should be a simple adjustment. All right, so I'm going to set that to the side. And now I've got free reign to crank this machine off. And we're going to be doing some serious cranking and some serious sewing today on this Class 66 machine. Before I do that, though, let me take a look at the live chat and see what answers folks have gotten to some of the questions I threw out there. And also be able to greet some people and say good morning to them as well. Let me set that over there. Bring this over here. Okay, let me look at the live chat, and then we'll go ahead and roll this forward. Well, it looks like the first in the classroom today was Susie. So good morning to my sweetheart, Susie. And then Jenny. And who else do we have? And it looks like Candido and Rachel are with us as well today from New York. Great to have you here as well, Rachel and Candido. And I don't know if you caught the last live stream, Rachel and Candido, but I showcased your scale that you gave me a number of years ago to weigh that Juki machine and the other machines that were similar to it. So hopefully you caught that. I could even weigh Stephanie's machine today because I have that scale pretty close. See if I can do that. So we've got a 66-1 here. It's not a light machine by any stretch of the imagination. Get my little scale in place there that Candido and Rachel gave me. I'm going to turn it on. Actually, I probably have to have this off to do that, don't I? Let me lift it up. Get to a 0 point. Now I can set it down. I think it's off a little bit. So this is saying that this 66-1 weighs just a little bit shy of 25 pounds. Or if you're watching over in Europe, we have a lot of folks that follow us over in Europe. It would equate to, can I do that? It would equate to a little bit over 11 kilos. 11 kilos or approximately just shy of 25 pounds. So it's not a super lightweight machine, but it certainly isn't the heaviest Singer machine they made either. But thank you again to Candido and Rachel for this wonderful scale. For the longest time, I was kind of guessing and spitballing as to the weight of certain machines, and they decided to help me out. So I'm grateful for that. It's great to have that accurate measurement. I'll make sure that none of my little adjusting feet moved out of the way. All right, let me finish saying hello to folks real quick. So again, let's see here. Oh, we don't have a lot of chatting. Not a lot chatting today. It looks like only Susie and Ginny. We have Trip Slaughter. Trip Slaughter 5101. I have no idea who that is. Trip Slaughter. Yeah. Well, welcome to Trip Slaughter 5101, whoever that is. Very cool. Good morning to Tim. And good morning to Teresa as well over in Wisconsin, up in Wisconsin. I already said good morning to Jenny. Yeah, not a lot of chatting today. You guys are quiet today. You're quiet. We sometimes have just a slew of chats, and you guys are a lot quieter today, and that's okay. That's okay. That means you're paying attention and you're being a good student in class. And I didn't even start class officially yet. Now class is officially in session, so if somebody shows up now, they're not really late until I ring the bell. Okay. So if you did the math already, which I'm trusting you probably did, and you looked up the serial number for Stephanie's machine that belonged to Grandma Joan Rutherford, you know that this machine was born December 18th, 1912. December 18th, 1912. That makes this machine 114 years old. I'm going to say it again. 114 years old. That certainly isn't the oldest machine I've ever had on a workbench. I've had machines much older than that, decades older than that. But that machine has been around for a while. And if it could tell a tale of what it's seen, boy, that would be fun to sit down and listen to that, wouldn't it? All the things that Grandma Rutherford did on this great machine, and certainly the ones before Grandma Rutherford, because again, Grandma Rutherford wasn't even born. Grandma Rutherford didn't come on the scene until about 25 years after this machine was born out in Elizabethport, New Jersey. So it gives you an idea, even though Grandma Rutherford sometimes, depending on the day, might say, I'm 89 years old and I feel old. She's a youngster. Grandma Rutherford is a youngster compared to this machine at 114 years old. But you know, the beauty of the way machines were built back then, and after they get a big dose of workshop magic, guess what? They're going to sew better than when they left the factory back in 1912. And we're going to finally put that to use now after a lot of blah, blah, blah. Oh, I'll give you one more task if someone's willing to take it on. I showed you that 99K that I used to wind a bobbin to put on this treadle machine. Look up that machine for me as well and tell me what the birth date is. The serial number for that machine is E like Echo, K like Kilo, 584253. So again, the 99K that I used to wind a bobbin to do this live stream, because I couldn't wind it on this 66-1, and it's a treadle machine. What am I going to do? Turn that with my finger too? Well, yeah, we'd be doing the live stream sometime next week probably. So I use that 99K that's in Susie's and my personal collection. Give us the birth date for that machine and how many were made in that production class. Serial number again, E like Echo, K like Kilo, 584253. And I'll tell you right away, when you see a machine that has that E series prefix, you know that that machine came out of Scotland. So if you've ever looked at that video that's on the landing page of Cow Country, I hope you've seen that video. It's amazing. It's a video showing the Scotland plant when it was operating and all the different things that they did there. That's where this machine would have been made, is over in Scotland, the 99K. Whenever you see that E prefix, it's Scotland. Although the UK tries to take credit for it all the time. They do. Okay. Let's get going on this. I don't know what I'm going to sew first. I'm kind of divided. Why don't I get some audience participation? So I've got Amazon packing parchment paper. I haven't sewn Amazon packing parchment paper for a long, long time. So I've got that as an option today. I also have heavy grade canvas. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of heavy grade canvas. I've got heavy grade denim. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 layers of heavy grade denim. I've got U.S. Army grade canvas. I've got 2 layers of that because that's even a little bit thicker, but maybe I'll fold it over and we'll do 4. So I've got Army canvas. I've got some really, really delicate velvet, vintage velvet. You saw me sew that recently in some of the other live streams. So on the real light side. Then I've got different types of genuine cowhide. And at one point, I actually thought I might try to go through 3 layers of heavy grade denim or heavy grade cowhide. That's how thick that would be if we did that. Turning it by hand. That may be a little bit too much for me. It's not too much for the machine, but it might be a little bit too much for me. But that would be around 14, almost 16 ounces of leather. So I've got this cowhide. We'll probably start with a single layer, go to two, and then I'll see whether or not I feel like doing a third layer. But I'll tell you one thing, the treadle machines, when they're set up in the table properly, you would be blown away. And I know Jenny could talk to this. If Bill O'Rourke were here from Florida, Bill also has a 66-1 in the treadle table. Treadle machines are ridiculously powerful, ridiculously powerful. So I know the machine could do this. I don't know if I can do it when it's not mounted in the table. I might, even with my little adaptations to level it out, it might be too much. Then I've got 100% cotton, 2 layers of that with a stiffener in between. And then I've got some of this, it's kind of a snakeskin material with a backing on it. We'll probably see if we can go through 2 or 3 layers of that as well. So those are the sew-offs that I've got prepared today. Snakeskin, cotton, lots of leather, Amazon packing parchment paper. I think I folded that so it's about 18 thicknesses, 18 thicknesses. I've got canvas, Army grade canvas, and then regular grade canvas as well. Kind of a heavy style of that. Denim. I think I have 6 layers of that. Trying to get it to line up there. Yeah, that's what our denim looks like if we go through that. 6 layers of heavy grade denim. And then last but not least, we've got this vintage velvet material. So if anyone wants to chime in and say, hey, sew this first, I'll go ahead and sew that first. But in the meantime, I'll put on a little bit of ragtime to give me a break on my voice because I've been talking almost continuously for an hour and a half. Almost an hour and a half. And any of you that have done public speaking, you know how physically demanding it is. It is. Aha. All right. Let me put on a little bit of traditional ragtime again. And then we will get going. All right, I'm going to pause. I love ragtime music. I don't know if you do or not, but that was such a cool period in our history. And I mean, there's so much music to love, but that has such a classic feeling to it. And it really fits this period with this machine being from 1912. And thank you to all those that looked up the dating of this machine and certainly the 99K as well. The 99K was born in 1955, so much later. 1950s. If you were born in the 1915s, you're a puppy. You're a puppy compared to this 114-year-old 66-1 that I'm going to be cranking a lot of material off on today. So I think I saw a request for velvet. I think that might have been Tim. I saw a request for denim as well. Let's see. Yeah, Rachel and Candido are saying denim. Tim is saying velvet. Why don't we start with the denim and then we'll go to the velvet? Because I think that request came in first anyway. So I've got heavy grade denim here. I've got it cut in these neat little strips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers of heavy grade denim. So there may be different opinions on what's the thickest denim that you're likely to be sewing. 3 layers, 4 layers, 5 layers, 6 layers? Well, I'm going to go with 6. So we'll see if we can go through these 6 layers of denim with me cranking it off on this 1912 Singer 66-1. I might need some ragtime music to crank this off, but I want you to be able to listen to the machine as well. I'm going to get that presser foot down. And I think we'll do a row of the longest stitch. It's going to be right around 7 to 8 stitches per inch. And then we'll see if we can adjust that thumb screw stitch length adjuster and bring it down to about 10 to 12 stitches per inch through all of this denim. Okay. So let me get this adjusted so you can see that. I could even try to bring the camera closer, but I think this table is going to wiggle and jiggle a little bit. See if we can get it right about there. Checking my screen. You can just see the edge of that faceplate. Doesn't that look gorgeous? Okay, so 6 layers of heavy grade denim. I do have the machine leveled. If you saw that at the beginning, I've used a variety of different things to level this 66 machine out because they sit cockeyed if they're not mounted in a table or in a base. And we'll see if we can crank off these stitches. All right, I'm gonna put my hand on the machine just to stabilize it a little bit. And here we go. Get that there. All right. Okay, now I got some rhythm. Now I'm going to crank her. Not incredibly fast, but that's okay. I might need a different balance on the front of this. Oh, it slid off. That's why. My level on the front slid out of the way. I'm going to check my other ones. Okay, that's why it was wiggling so much. My level on the front had moved out of the way when I put it up on the scale, I think, to check it out on the weight of it. Yeah, okay. Lesson learned. Yeah, some beautiful stitching. And I get my glasses on. See how our tension is looking here. Yeah, very, very nice. That's our top stitching right there. Hopefully you can see that on camera. I think you can. Here's our lock stitching. The material is a little bit light, but hopefully if I get close enough, you can see the stitching on that as well. Some beautiful, beautiful stitching from this class 66-1 from 1912. Now what I'm going to try to do next, and now that I've got that other level back in place again, the machine won't be rocking as much. I'm going to put my presser foot back down. And I'm going to see if I can adjust this now. And again, it's kind of an imperfect science with a thumb screw adjuster. You can see it right here. I'm going to go ahead and turn that about 3 to 4 turns counterclockwise. And we'll see what our stitching looks like there. And I'm not going to have the straightest rows today or the straightest columns because I'm cranking. I'm making sure the machine stays level. I'm not able to steer the material as much, so you'll just have to forgive my crooked stitching. All right, here we go. So 1, 2, 3. I think I'll just go 3. And we'll go ahead and give us a try. And again, whenever you're launching, I say this all the time, but make sure your take-up arm is all the way at the top position. So I'm going to turn it just a little bit further. There we go. And now we'll do one more stitch column. And this time we'll see, we'll do some measurements too. We'll see approximately how many stitches per inch we're getting. Okay, let me adjust this back so you can see the stitching going down. All right. Cranking by hand. Here we go. Yeah, that's not bad speed considering I'm doing it by hand. It's not bad. All right, let me give these threads a clip and we'll take a look at them close up. And with my leveling system, the machine really isn't moving around enough. I was confident enough that time. Once I realized that one little pad had moved out of position, I was confident enough this time. I was cranking with my right arm and steering the material with my left hand. And any of you that have 66-1s or Class 66 machines in a treadle table, you're saying it's a lot easier when it's in a treadle table. Yeah, it is. Okay, so here's our two stitch lines. We're going to look at those together. Kind of looking at my camera over my shoulder there. And again, we went through 6 layers of heavy grade denim. And you can imagine if you hook this up to a treadle table with a treadle belt, if I can go through 6 layers of denim, cranking it by hand, imagine what you can sew through with the power of your foot. Trying to get that to go in focus. Hold on a second. Maybe if I move it over here. There we go. That took a lot to get it in focus. Beautiful stitching. Beautiful stitching. Very, very nice. Let's take a look at our lock stitching. See how we did on the lock stitching. It's going to be a little bit hard to see because the back of that denim is really light. I'll see if I can get really close. Let me try it like this. Some reason you can see it better that way when I angle the material that way. I guess it has a larger surface to focus on, doesn't it? So 6 layers of heavy grade denim. That's kind of what it looks like from the side. 6 layers of heavy grade denim turned by hand with this 1912 66-1. And it went through just like a hot knife through butter. Just like a hot knife through butter. Not even a challenge for Grandma Rutherford's machine. Just sliced through it. And again, we're sewing with a universal needle that has a partly rounded point. It doesn't even have a sharp serrated point. And we were able to cut through these 6 layers of denim with no difficulty whatsoever. So I'm going to throw this to the back. And now we're going to look at sewing that velvet that I believe Tim wanted to see. See if I can get over here. We'll check out the velvet sewing next. Now I could make a presser foot adjustment. I should make a presser foot adjustment, but because this velvet has even though it's a very thin, soft material, it's got a density to it, especially with that backing on it. So I'm pretty comfortable just leaving the presser foot pressure where it is. I'm going to get this into position and we'll see if we can buzz down and lay down some stitching. I'll do the same thing I did on the other one. I'll lay down a row of or a column of around 7 to 8 stitches per inch, and then I'll change it to about 10 to 12 stitches per inch. So I'm going to make that adjustment. I'll turn this back first of all the way in. Remember, if you turn it all the way clockwise, you're going to have the longest stitch possible. So I'm going to crank that in, and then we're going to go from there back to the needle area. I've got so much lighting here, but it always seems like it's a little bit darker in here. I've got to add more, even more lighting in this space. Okay, so we'll do this first. Get my take-up arm all the way up. And I'll see if I can crank it and steer it at the same time. All right? All right, Tim, this is for you, buddy. This is for you. Yeah, I'm going to have to move that camera. I see the camera wiggling all over the place. The camera's going like, work, 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 work. Oh, yeah, that's really lovely. I'm going to back off this upper tension just a little bit. Back off that upper tension just a little bit because I see that our on this velvet, at least, I see that our stitching is not quite as defined on the top stitching as I'd like to see it. Yeah. We do that next stitch line, we'll clean that up a little bit. So this is our first stitch line, and you can see here where our top stitching is not as defined as it needs to be. It's pretty good, but it's not quite as defined as I'd like to see it. So what we do when we have top stitching that isn't as defined is we turn back our upper tension, which I just did. Yeah, very, very nice. Very nice. We'll turn it over and look at that lock stitching. Lock stitching looks spot on. Very, very nice. So as you change between a field of materials, we went from denim to velvet, and then we'll eventually be doing leather. You might have to make some tension adjustments. So on this velvet, before I do our next stitch line, I backed off the upper tension so we get a little bit better definition on this top stitching. It's still very, very nice, but it could be even better. Yeah, very nice. So I'm going to move the camera off of the table so that it's not wiggling quite as much while y'all are trying to watch it. And we'll do this next stitch column with velvet for Tim. And then we'll take a look at that close. So I'm going to get this back into position. And then we'll make our stitch length adjustment using that thumb screw. Get that down. Over here, we're just going to adjust this counterclockwise, about 3 turns, 3.5 turns, something like that. 1, 2, 3. And now we'll crank off our stitching for this next column on this vintage velvet. Vintage velvet. That's kind of fun to say, isn't it? Vintage velvet. And you can see if you look over here, I've got all this space now to slide this through for cranking without hitting that bobbin winder is why I had to take it off. All right, let's check this out. All right, stop right there. Yeah, that adjustment on the upper tension did help to give us even better definition on that top stitch. Let's take a look at these and then we'll move on to our next sew off. Okay, so vintage velvet. Just going to see. Yeah, on this velvet, it's interesting. The stitch length is not as dramatic as it was on the denim. Of course, we were going through 6 layers of denim, and that's a lot of layers to be stitching. But here you can see our 2 columns. This is the one that I just did. Is that the one I just did? Let me double check. Actually, I think that's, let me flip them like this. But these are our 2 columns of stitching that we just did. Our top stitching. Really quite lovely. And you can see this other row, this other column we did right here is going to have a little bit better definition than the bottom one because I made that tension adjustment before I stitched it. Well, we must be getting a delivery. Yeah, velvet is a tricky material to sew, so you may have to make additional adjustments, but you can see the clarity of the stitch over here from that adjustment that we did. So as you change from a wide field of materials, you may have to make additional adjustments, especially depending on your setup and the type of needle you're using. But yeah, some lovely, lovely stitching. Here's our lock stitching on the back. Or I may have just done that backwards. Anyway, here's our other stitching. Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. And if you occasionally see a little bit of a tilting of a stitch, that's a tension factor. That's telling you that you're almost on the edge of not having enough tension, whether it's the top stitching or whether it's the lock stitching. So tension is always a factor. And that's why artificial intelligence is starting to get involved with trying to have on the commercial and the industrial side, starting to have computers that will adjust tension in real time as those large industrial machines are producing their products. It might be a garment, it might be underwear, who knows what it is. But they're actually using AI technology now to adjust tension rapidly, along with identifying the material type. It helps them out quite a bit. So I had promised when we did the denim that I would try to do a measurement. I didn't do that, so I'm going to do a measurement real quick. I'll bring us all the way out to 1 inch, right about there. So it looks like on the 6 layers of denim, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we landed right about where I expected. The 6 layers of denim, for the longest stitch, we ended up getting right around 8 stitches per inch. And then when I made that adjustment to that thumb screw, I'll do it from this end because that other end is kind of a stop point. On this other end, whoops, that moved a little bit. On this other end, on the shorter stitch, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right around 11 stitches per inch. Right around 11 stitches per inch. So 11 stitches per inch, and then right around 8 stitches per inch. So the machine is performing perfectly, even through a very, very challenging sew-off like these 8 layers of heavy grade denim. Again, we got right around 8 stitches and then 11 stitches when I adjusted the thumb screw. That's how we did on the velvet. And again, we didn't get as dramatic of a change when I adjusted the velvet It must have been the feed factor. So on the velvet, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right around 7, close to 7 stitches per inch on the velvet. So again, it just shows you as you're moving through different materials, as you're doing different materials and different layers, your stitch setting can remain exactly the same, but you're going to get a different result because of how that material is feeding over the feed dogs and underneath the presser foot. And with the 66-1, the feed dogs only make contact with a portion of the foot control of the presser foot. I need more tea. I definitely need more tea. Yeah, the way the bevel and the design of the 66-1 foot, it's only making a portion of contact with the feed dogs through about 40 to 50% of the feed dog area. The front area, because of the contour of the presser foot attachment designed on this machine, that's not even making contact with material. So the feed on the 66-1s, it's probably not quite as good as some of the later models of the Class 66 system because you don't have as much contact with that material pressing down on those feed dogs, if that makes sense. So as things progress, as it went through all of those different innovations of the 66, I have no doubt that that's one of the things that they looked at was the redesign and going to a side mounting position with more of a flat presser foot attachment so that it's feeding that material a little bit more evenly and there's more contact with it. Just like rubber on the road, right? When you're driving in the winter or driving on slippery conditions, the more rubber you have on contact with that pavement, the better traction, the better control you're going to have. It's the same thing with sewing machines. So I'll throw those two sew-offs to the back. And now I think we'll move into, why don't we move into a leather sew-off? I'll see if I can go to this wider piece. We'll do a single layer of genuine cowhide. It's probably about 3 to 4 ounces of leather. We'll sew off a longer stitch, and then we'll do a shorter stitch right after that so we can compare the two. And I've made adjustments to the upper tension because of that, the velvet material. I may have to adjust it back. Okay, so 3 to 4 ounces of genuine cowhide. I'll make sure my thumb screw is turned all the way in, so I've got the longest stitch possible. And now we'll crank off some leather on this 1912 machine. All right, you ready? Here we go. Let me check my camera angle. Camera angle looks like it's pretty good. All right, here we go. Trying to sew straighter. Now that I've got that other support underneath that front pedestal foot, I don't have a wobbly machine. Makes it a whole lot easier. All right, stop there. So that's on our longest stitch setting for this leather. It looks like we have a little bit better balance on that stitching. I'm still going to back off this upper tension just a little bit more. We'll do our next stitch row, and then we'll look at both of these together. That's our first stitch off. Real pronounced lock stitch, so I'm going to back that off even a little bit more. And then we'll see if we can do our next stitch line, probably again around 10 to 12 stitches per inch. We get that back into place, and then we'll adjust our stitch length. All right, so off camera, I'm just giving that thumb screw stitch length adjuster about 3 turns. 1, 2, 3. And now we'll crank off another stitch column, and we'll compare the two next to each other. All right, here we go. And again, I'm operating with a universal needle by Schmetz in 9014. We don't have the benefit of a leather needle that would be cutting through that leather. We're punching through it right now with that slightly rounded end on this 9014 Schmetz needle. So it does make it a little bit more challenging, especially when you're turning it by hand. Okay, I'll stop there. Yeah, that's it's giving us a nice representation, I think, of these stitch differences. And then we'll do a quick measurement just to see how we're doing in maintaining stitch length continuity, going from denim to velvet to leather. So our first column is, let's see how I did this. Our first column is over here, and our second one is over here. So I'll look at it like this. First of all, I think the camera will have easier time focusing on it. Take my glasses off because I can't look across the room like that. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. I like that a lot. That's some good looking stitching, folks. And again, imagine if we were using a leather needle. A leather needle would make it even more pronounced. Take a look at it like this also. Yeah, it's easier to look at it like this, I think. The camera has an easier time of focusing on it. Turn it over, look at our lock stitching as well. You can see that pretty clear. Even though there's a nap on this leather, you can still see that lock stitching very, very clearly. And that is some good looking lock stitching. Very, very nice. I'm going to do a couple of quick measurements just so we can see how we're doing as far as, and really kind of when I turn that stitch knob screw, I'm kind of spitballing it. I don't know if I'm doing a full cycle each time I'm turning. I'm just kind of doing it by feel. But apparently my feel is pretty good because I'm getting real close to the same mark between all three of these materials. So there's going to be right around an inch. Check our longest stitch first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8 stitches per inch right there on the bottom one. And now our shorter one that I adjusted manually. Yeah, maybe we'll do it from this end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this time I must have not turned it quite as far. We've got 10 stitches per inch right here and right around 8 stitches per inch there on the leather. And we've got some really good looking stitching. We could make it even better if we were to look at an option of a roller foot. If there's one available for this design, I know there would be for a side mount. I don't know about a rear mount. And yeah, the clarity of stitch looks really good considering we're going through leather with a universal needle. So I'm going to throw this one to the back as well with the velvet and with the denim. What should I try next? Maybe I'll do some good old-fashioned cotton. We'll pull out our cotton. Again, this is just from a fat quarter at Walmart. 2 layers of cotton with a stiffener in between. I'll go ahead and do our longest stitch on this first. And then we'll look at maybe adjusting that thumb screw even shorter than we did the last time. Maybe I'll go 4 turns and we'll see what kind of outcome we get with that. So yeah, let's give this a go. Starting out crooked, that's not going to help me. There we go. But you can kind of see what I'm saying right here, this part of the presser foot all the way to there. I'm sliding this little cutter all the way in, probably 4 or 5 millimeters. That presser foot for the 66-1 is not even making contact with the material. It's to the rear of it, to just about to that point right there where it makes contact. And that's the design of the foot, the presser foot. So it is what it is, but just take that into account. If you're having feet issues, the presser foot might be part of it. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some MacGyver person that would take a presser foot like this and their hammer, flatten it out a little bit more so it has more contact with the material. I'm not recommending that, but I'm saying it's certainly a possibility. All right, let's give this a turn, see how we do. All right, here we go. And the other thing good about this hook design, this again is going to have a horizontal oscillating hook on it. You're able to work with much heavier threads than I'm working with. I'm working with Coates and Clark, which I think is around what is that, Susie? Around a 35 weight thread, I believe. And we could go much heavier than that. We could go with even a Kevlar thread, which is probably more in the range of 20 weight. And we're going to still get a great outcome and not have any jam issues. That's the beauty of the oscillating hook. Yeah, I like this. We still are heavy a little bit on the upper tension. I'm going to give it a little bit more of a turn back. But we'll take a look at this stitching. Actually, I'll do the next one first, and then we'll look at both of them comparatively. I think that's better. And I think I said I'll do 4 turns this time. I'm going to put that down. And now off camera, I'm going to grab that little thumb screw for stitch length adjustment. And I'm going to turn it counterclockwise about 4 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's crank this off and see how it compares with the other stitch column. All right, here we go. I think on an amperage speed, I'm probably like around 0.1, less than a featherweight, but we're getting through it. All right, let's take a look at this one. And I like the adjustment I made because I'm seeing better clarity on that top stitching. Better clarity. We're kind of getting a little mushy there for a moment. And it's looking a lot more like I want to see it looking. Getting a real good balance. And certainly we changed material types. We went from denim to velvet, and then we did leather, and now we're doing cotton. And that's the thing that would make a lot of people nervous in a live stream, is changing the field of materials without changing the needle. They've got denim needles, we're not using them. They've got leather needles, we're not using them. They've got woven fabric needles, we're not using those. We're just sticking with the same Schmetz, and we're making adjustments to the tension to try to get the outcome that we want. So here's our 2 stitch columns. Our first one there, our second one there. We'll take a look at those and see how we did on the cotton. I tilt that a little bit because I can't believe my lighting is not enough. It's probably because the camera's blocking part of it. Beautiful stitching. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. I better turn it like this. I'm all over the place. We'll try it like this too. Very, very nice. Really, really good looking top stitching. Let's flip it over and look at our lock stitching. We'll do it like this first. It's our lock stitching, both columns. Very nice. Turn it like this. Very, very nice stitching. I'll just do a quick calibration check and see how we're doing as far as stitches per inch, just to give us an approximation. All right, I got to keep my finger on there because my little caliper is lubed up so well it keeps moving on me a little bit. So we're going to do the longer stitch row first. You can see I'm set on an inch right there on the caliper. We'll do our longer stitch row first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So again, we have 8 stitches per inch. We've been able to maintain the stitch length beautifully between a wide field of materials. Now we'll go to the shorter one. Maybe I'll measure it from this end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, almost 10 stitches per inch. So between all the materials, the denim, the velvet, the leather, and now the cotton, the machine has been managing that very, very well. And I guess I've been managing it well by spitballing how far I'm turning that stitch knob screw, because we've been hitting almost the same mark each and every time. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that to the back as well. And now, let's see, what should I do? Maybe I should try some of this snakeskin material. Give that a try, and then we'll move into some final leather sew-offs, and we'll move towards wrapping this up soon. All right, a little bit more rag time. Nice. Well, I decided to do a sew off while we were listening to the ragtime music, and I guess that's okay. I sewed through this snakeskin type material, and we're going to take a look at these stitches. I've already taken a pre-glimpse, and oh my goodness, they're getting better each and every sew off we do. It's kind of like Grandma Rutherford's machine is saying, I need to show Grandma Rutherford and Stephanie what greatness looks like because man, oh man, these are gorgeous stitches. This is going to be I'm just going to double check. This is our top stitching first. Let me go all the way to the end and we'll look at that going across. Our top stitching. Very, very nice. And I think I'll be able to get better visibility of the stitches if I turn it like this. See if I turn it like this helps a little bit. I'll bring my camera up a little bit too so I get a little bit more light. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. Beautiful stitching. Let me turn it like this. Yeah, there's the right distance right there. There it is. Folks, that is page 34 stitching. And if you're new to us, somebody that is a veteran can tell you what page 34 means. That's gorgeous, gorgeous stitching. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Let's turn over, look at the lock stitching. Here's our lock stitching on these 3 layers of this snakeskin type material. See what we think of that. Very, very nice. Look at it like this too. I feel like I have to wash my hands after handling this stuff. Is anyone else kind of freaked out by snakes? That's our lock stitching, folks, and it's absolutely off the hook. Wow. Top stitching, absolutely spectacular. Lock stitching, spectacular. Wow. And that's a lot of material to go through, folks. I mean, look at it from the side. You get the puff factor of it. And Stephanie's 66-1, turning it by finger, basically, it went through this just like, again, a hot knife through butter. It made it look so absolutely easy and delivered stitching that is just off the charts. That is when the camera focuses on it. Come on, camera, we're waiting for you. There it is. Let me get a measurement on these. We'll see how we did as far as maintaining the stitch length that we're aiming for. And it seems like when I angle my camera up a little bit, that light helps it. So I'm going to keep that up a little bit while we're measuring this. I'll have to add another light to this area. This is kind of a dark spot over here. All right, so I got this set in 1 inch. Go ahead and measure our stitches and see how we did. 3 layers of snakeskin material. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, we're right at 8 stitches per inch, which is what I expected. 8 stitches per inch, even on 3 layers of snakeskin type material. So this 66-1 from 1912, I think it's really trying to show off to impress Grandma Rutherford and to impress Stephanie, saying, you ain't seen nothing yet, baby. You ain't seen nothing yet. So already in this live stream, we've gone through 6 layers of denim. We've gone through 2 layers of vintage velvet. We've gone through a thick layer of a genuine cowhide, about 3 to 4 ounces. We've gone through 2 layers of cotton, no big deal there with a stiffener. And now we just did 3 layers of a snakeskin material. And the machine is just rocking it. It's just knocking it out of the park. And it's making it look, I'm trying to get a hold of it, making it look.
That was easy. That was easy. That was easy.
It's making it look super.
That was easy.
Super easy. I'm going to leave this out because I'm going to hit that again probably. All right. I'm going to get a quick drink of tea to wet my whistle. And what we have left, if anyone wants to chime in, we've got this Amazon packing parchment paper. We've got this Amazon packing parchment paper. If I unwind it, so that's 2 layers right there. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. What I have here, and this is going to sound insane, but I've got 18 layers of Amazon packing parchment paper. 18 layers. And that's one of our options. 18 layers of Amazon packing parchment paper. I've got this heavy grade canvas material right here. I've got 4 layers of that, 4 layers of heavy grade canvas material. I've got U.S. Army grade canvas material. Maybe I'll cut that snap off and then we'll fold it over and do 4 layers of that. And then last but not least, I got a lot more leather. Potentially, I don't know if I can pull it off, but potentially 3 layers of leather. I think that's probably too much, but 3 layers of leather would look like that. I'm probably going to knock the machine over if I try cranking that, unless I hold onto the machine by putting my hand in the middle of the bed and turn it like this with my hand. Maybe I could pull off 3, but look at the thickness of that leather. That's way, way thicker than a heavy duty belt. So I'm going to let the audience pick. Do we try doing 3 layers? Do I start with 2 and then add a 3rd? Do we do the Amazon packing parchment paper, 18 layers of that? Or the 4 layers of heavy grade canvas? Or the U.S. Army grade canvas? What do you all want to see first? We might have time to do all 4 of them to wrap up this live stream. But I'll tell you one thing, if you're not impressed yet with this 66-1 from 1912, then you are a real difficult person to satisfy. I'm just going to say it, because what we've done on this 66-1, hand turning it, compared to what we could do if it were in a treadle table, driven by a belt like this that I have, that I'm going to be sending with a machine for Stephanie. I think we could go through patio blocks. I think we could sew cement with a 66-1 like Jenny has out in Ohio, mounted in her table. She could send me a little link of herself sewing patio blocks. I bet she could pull it off with the right needle. You know what I mean? I'm not kidding you. These machines, they used to call them the tailor's machine. They all kinds of different nicknames for the 66 series machines. I'm just going to call them, they're just a mammoth workhorse. I mean, anything you put underneath that pressure foot, which by the way has a huge amount of clearance, probably 4 or 5 quarters you could stick underneath there and you could get through that material. I mean, it's just crazy how strong they are. They're incredibly strong. So let me see if anybody has an opinion on what we sew first, and then we'll begin heading towards wrapping up this live stream. Paper and leather. Leather, packing paper. Ha ha ha! Well, thank you, Candido. Yeah, this is a sweetheart of a machine, isn't it? Page 34 for sure. Can't ask for much more from this jewel of a machine. Great job, Scott. Yeah, I mean, that's really what we're aiming for with every single machine that comes across my workbench is we want that greatness factor that Candido just put his finger on. When people walk away, I want to see them on their phones or on their tablets or on their laptop saying, how do I get a hold of a machine like that? And I've had that happen on every single live stream where someone says, I got my machine after seeing your live stream. I got my machine after watching your premiere of what that machine could do. Now, some of those same people end up sending that machine to me because their machine that they get off of eBay or Etsy or Pinterest hasn't gone through Workshop Magic. And it may not be able to do all the things that you're going to see Stephanie and Grandma Rutherford's machine do today. So don't get a 66-1 and then put it into a closet because you're disappointed. Don't do that. Don't do that. Realize that preparation, what's the saying? Prior prevention prevents poor performance, right? Prior prevention prevents poor performance, or perspiration in preparation makes for inspiration in presentation. You want me to say that one again? Because that's what Workshop Magic is. It's preparation to get under the bright lights and to put these machines through the paces in a live stream where you can't take it back. What happens, happens, right? That's the real deal. The real deal is perspiration in preparation makes for inspiration in presentation. That's what a Cow Country live stream is. I want to inspire people. I want to get them stoked up saying, oh my goodness, after I saw that Nordic Husqvarna that went out to New York to join Candido and Rachel, I want one of those because of what I saw Scott have it do. I want one of those machines. I want one of these machines. I want one of that machines. It's all going to get you excited because that's what that perspiration behind the scenes that I'm pouring into these machines does. That perspiration in preparation makes for inspiration in presentation. We're presenting this machine today. We're presenting this machine. It's like joining a certain group. You're presented to those other members and they approve you. They say, yeah, we want him. We want her in our group. It's the same thing with this machine. We're presenting it today so you can see that greatness factor and say, oh, I want one of those. I want me one of those. Yeah, I do. So let's see what you guys voted on, and then we're going to put this machine to the test. We're going to put this machine to the test. Again. Jenny. I love our whole family, but Jenny just tickles me. I said to Susie, I said, if Jenny will bless us, if Candido and Rachel will bless us, if all different family members, when we eventually retire and I hang up my tools and we start to visit people that we've fallen in love with, that we just adore, that have been part of the Cow Country family, when we travel out to Ohio to visit Jenny, or we travel out to Florida to meet Paula Noel for the first time, or travel to Florida to meet Bill O'Rourke down in Kissimmee, Florida, or travel out to New York, a suburb of New York, and visit Candido and Rachel and meet them for the first time. Man, oh man, what a reunion that will be. Doing all of this is such a blessing. It's one of the greatest honors and privileges that I've had in my life, to build this channel over decades and to inspire people through perspiration to fall in love with vintage and antique sewing machines, and even fall in love with more contemporary machines like I presented recently. That's such a blessing. But to meet these people that have been a part of our family and the leaders that have taken care of our family so well through live streams and premieres and everything else, what a blessing that's going to be. You know what I mean? That's going to be a blessing. All right, let's see what else we got. Oh, we got somebody else, Mere Def. I've not seen Mere Def before. MERDEPH. Mere Def. I'm not sure where Mere Def is from, but welcome. It's great to have you here. It's great to have Mere Def as well. All right, let's see what we have. Leather, packing paper. So I've got my first vote, it looks like, was for Amazon packing parchment paper. So we're going to do, drum roll, we're going to do 18 layers of Amazon packing parchment paper. I feel like I'm doing Peter Piper pecked a peppered pickle. I can't do that either. But we're going to be sewing through a thickness of paper. Y'all know how strong paper is. You know how strong paper is? I could hold it like this, and we could probably put 100 pounds or more, probably 150 pounds. If I was strong enough to hold it, 18 layers of Amazon packing parchment paper would be strong enough to support hundreds of pounds of weight. Paper is crazy, crazy, crazy strong. And we're going to be going through it with a Schmetz Universal 9014 needle. 18 layers of this stuff. That's crazy. That's crazy. But it's fun. But it's fun. Yeah, it is. All right, let me move that to the side. We're going to get this 18 layers of parchment paper into place. And with the clearance on this 66-1, it's absolutely a breeze to do that. I'm going to use my little clip to try to hold this together, at least for a little while. Now, I might need some ragtime music to pull this one off. 18 layers. Try this at home. Y'all shop on Amazon. Susie is our master Amazon shopper. I can ask her to find anything and she'll find it, either on Amazon or somewhere else. She's better than she can find anything. So if you got Amazon parchment paper at home, or you just got a package, don't throw it away. Set it up with your machine and see how many layers you can get through. And if you send me a video of it, I'll show it on a live stream. I think that'd be super cool. All right, a little bit more ragtime. I'll pick a different ragtime. Actually, I might need dance music for this. I think I need dance music for this. Yeah. I don't like this song, though. I don't like that one. That one's no fun. Let me find other dance music. Let me try this. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This music right here is either music for Mr. Bean dancing. Imagine Mr. Bean dancing, or for going through 18 layers of Amazon packing parchment paper. Here we go. Ha ha! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! 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 All right, I'm going to pause the music for a second, and I'm just going to say that is a really, really long sew off. Let me show it to you again. This is our top stitching. Let me show it to you again. I should show you the thickness too. 18 layers. You're only going to see this sort of thing on this channel. We do the craziest, most fun things of any YouTube channel on the internet. I hope you agree. We just take it to the max. Take it to the max. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Woo, doggy. We're still going. We're still going. We're still going. I think doing it sideways will be easier for me. I'm running out of workshop space. All right, let me do it sideways because this thing is so daggone long. We try it like this. Wait, almost got it. Almost got it. I'm going to have to walk across the room here. It's that long. I'm having to back up. I don't have enough space. That's crazy. Look at the thickness of that. Absolutely gorgeous stitching. Gorgeous stitching. Look at that one more time. You don't see 18 layers of Amazon packing parchment paper sewn every day of the week. Unbelievable. I mean, it's believable. We just did it. We just did it. Oh man, that's nuts. Let's look at the lock stitching. Here's our lock stitching. I love lock stitching on paper. You know why? Ask me why I love lock stitching on paper. It's because you can see when that needle punched through there, it creates like a little puff of paper as it displaces the paper coming through. Let me see if I can go across and show you. Let me do it like this. It's probably easier. Come on, camera. We're waiting on you. Come on, camera. There we go. That is so cool. Oh my goodness. 18 layers of Amazon packing parchment paper. We're still going. We're still going. We're still going. We're going to move the camera out. Well, you know what? You came here on Tuesday not knowing exactly what you were going to see. And now you can go out into your circles on Facebook and Etsy and Pinterest and go, you've got to check out the Cow Country YouTube channel. This guy is a nut. He's so excited about what he's doing, and he does the most outrageous things. He didn't cause any fires today, but on an earlier live stream, he did, showing us what was combustible and to use things in our machine cautiously. But today he set fire on all the materials by them not being able to stand up to this 1912 Singer 16-1. Every single thing, including this sew-off right here, is just absolutely off the charts. The camera is so intimidated, it won't even focus on it. It's like, I can't focus on that. I can't focus on that. No way. I can't focus on that. Look at that. Unbelievable sew-off. Folks, not only did it get through 18 layers, again, paper that would be strong enough to support hundreds of pounds, but it laid down stitching that is brag-worthy. Look at that. Look at that stitching. You could start making clothes out of Amazon packing parchment paper and people would buy them. Am I wrong? Make a jacket out of Amazon packing parchment paper. Look at the stitch quality. You could sell the jacket. You can make a purse out of it. Jiminy Crickets, you can make anything. Unbelievable. That's a lot of paper. Let me set that to the rear. And I think someone wanted to see leather next. We'll do leather. I got to cut the rest of my threads off. And we'll put on some more Mr. Bean music. I'm going to set that in the back. So far in this live stream, we've gone through 18 layers of Amazon packing parchment paper. We've gone through some fairly thick leather, about 3 to 4 ounces of it. We've gone through vintage velvet. We've gone through 6 layers of heavy grade denim. And then we also did cotton. Cotton's almost kind of a disappointment after all the other stuff, but cotton is one of those materials a lot of people are going to sew on it, right? A lot of people. So I'm going to put on the dance music, get a drink, and then we're going to hit some leather. Let's hit some leather next. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I got to turn this with my hand. I can't use that little wooden thing. I got to try to steer it and turn it by hand. So 2 layers is really pushing it here. Not for the machine, but just in trying to keep this machine stable because it's just balanced on those pedestal feet right now. But I'm going to keep turning it. I did lift the presser foot. Hopefully it didn't goof anything up, but I'm continuing to turn it right now with 2 layers of this heavy grade leather. It's probably about 8 to 10 ounces of leather. This is about the thickness of a belt. And again, right now I'm gripping the balance wheel like this. This is the benefit of having big hands. I'm grabbing the balance wheel like this, and I'm turning it like this through these 2 layers of this leather. Can I do it through 3 layers? I don't know. I don't know. It would be interesting. I would not try this on a contemporary machine. I'll tell you that right now. Wow. Holy mackerel. I'm really tempted to try 3 layers. I really am. Let's take a look at 2 layers, and then I'll make a decision. So this is going to be, I'm going to move the camera back and tilt it up so I can get better light on these. This is going to be 2 layers of heavy grade cowhide. Look at the thickness there. If I measure it with a caliper, get my glasses on, measure with the caliper, we're looking at right around 4 millimeters thickness. 4 millimeters thickness. It's not a light sew-off, folks, no matter how you slice and dice it. All right, let's take a look at this one. This is our top stitching, and then we'll go ahead and look at the lock stitching on the bottom. Wow. And that was hand turned. Look at it like this. Absolutely drop dead. Gorgeous stitching through 2 layers of genuine cowhide. How do we do on the lock stitching? Because we haven't made any more changes to the upper tension. And our lock stitching through this much leather using a non-leather needle, that's going to be our wiggle point. If we can nail it here, what do they say in the New York song? You can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Take a look. There's our lock stitching on the back. Look at that nap. I know I didn't sew straight. I could sew straighter if it were in a treadle table, but that's okay. It's more fun this way. Let's look at it like this too. Unbelievable. I mean, it's believable. We just did it. I'm going to pull this back. You saw it live, folks. You can't fake it. You can't fake it when you're doing it live. A lot of people will do still pictures, other things like that. They edit it. This is what we just did, 2 layers of this. I don't know if I can do 3 by hand because that's going to add this much more leather to that. That's off the hook. Let me put on a little bit more dance music and contemplate that. But I'll tell you one thing.
That was easy. That was easy.
That was easy. I mean, it was easy for the machine. For me, yeah. Yeah, let me think about it. Should we do 3 layers? We do 3 layers. I'm going to skip the canvas. I think I'll skip the canvas. Let me set that to the side. Maybe we'll wrap this up dramatically with 3 layers of leather. If I can do it with a Tiring Schmetz universal needle, a non-leather needle, I don't know. And speaking of needles, I didn't tell you specifically. I told you how to orientate the bobbin with the thread over the top like this, right? Thread goes over the top like this when you drop it in. With your needle, make sure when you slide your needle in that the flat side on the 66-1 goes to the right. The flat side goes to the right, okay? If you put it to the left, you're going to have a bad day. So put your flat side to the right, and and you'll have success. Trying to get my phone to come to life. My phone is saying, no, I don't want to. I don't want to. Almost there. There we go. All right. I decided to give it a try, but I want to set us up for success. So I'm going to switch it out from the universal needle over to a leather needle, size 100. And we'll try this final sew off through 3 layers of heavy grade leather, genuine cowhide, using a size 100 Schmetz leather needle. If this doesn't do it, nothing will. All right, let me get the camera set back up. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. It looks like even through a long live stream, we still have a little bit over 1,000 people here. And I don't know if the owner made it or not, Stephanie, but if Stephanie, if you're here, I hope you've enjoyed this celebration of your grandma Rutherford's machine. And I'm guessing that pretty confidently that Grandma Rutherford never sewed some of the stuff that we're sewing in this live stream today. So it also opens up your horizons for projects in the future that you might want to try once you get this machine back and get it into that treadle table, because I'm not going to send my finger with a machine. You gotta wind this puppy up yourself, kiddo. You got to wind it up yourself. So, but again, a machine that is 114 years old, sewing like it's a teenager, sewing better than a teenager. Teenagers can be lazy. This is a workhorse. So we're going to try to set it up for 3 layers of leather. See if we can get through it. All right, let me line it up. Probably have to put my hand, probably going to have to put my hand in the middle of the bed to stabilize it. But I'm also going to need another hand to steer it. So we'll see what I can do with this. I could get the, you saw this fun little guy pop up. That's our singer repairman. The singer repairman. I've got all kinds of little fun characters in my workshop that will help me out sometimes. And I'm going to see if he'll turn it while I'm guiding it. But I don't know if he's up to that or not. He's saying no, he's not going to turn it. So I guess I'm on my own. I'm just going to put him over here for moral support. I'll put him right over there for moral support and see if that's enough. 3 layers of genuine cowhide, probably the thickness. Well, let's look. Right around 8 millimeters thick. Close to 8 millimeters thick of leather. This is insane. This is crazy. Yeah, I like it. All right, I got to stop. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. This is so thick that it's causing the stop action clutch on the end to slip. So unfortunately, I don't think I can pull this off. Not because the machine can't do it, but the stop action, I've got it as tight as it'll go. I've got the stop action as tight as it'll go, and it's slipping. Because the load is so heavy on the machine. If I could get it going, we probably could pull it off, but yeah, the stop action's slipping. Doggone it. And that's not the fault of the machine. It just has its limits on how much torque you can put on that. Yep. So can we do 3 layers? Yes, we can. But I'd have to make adaptations to the machine to basically lock that stop action so that it won't turn, it won't slip. See if we can do something equally extraordinary. What else can we do to wrap this up? Because that's kind of anticlimactic. It's kind of anticlimactic. Yeah, I can do this, but that's hardly even a challenge. 4 layers of that, but maybe I can combine the 2. That would be fun. Leather and canvas. I think we can get through this. Let's see if we can get through this. So a single layer, about 3 to 4 ounces of leather with 4 more layers of heavy grade canvas. Keep your fingers crossed. Here we go. Oh, I know what it is. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to try something else real quick. Hold on. Hold your horses for a second. I'm going to put music on. Hold your horses. I just remembered a simple principle. Let's see if this will help us get there. Hold on a second. We should be impressed by 2 layers already that we already did, but I'm trying to push this just a little bit further. Trying to push this just a little bit further. I'm going to go back to my universal needle, and I'll tell you why. The larger the needle you get, it's like popping a balloon. I talked about this in earlier live streams. The larger needle you get, the more space it has to try to pierce that material, the more difficult it can become. Let's see if maybe by changing from our leather needle back to our universal needle, we're able to pull off one of these 2 sew-offs. I'll be happy with either one because it's a lot. 2 layers of leather is enough. Let's see if we can pull it off. I'd love to have this final victory of my needle clamp coming off. That was cool. Apparently I had it turned down too far. There we go. Let's see if we can pull it off with our universal. That's going to be a size 90 versus a size 100. That difference as far as the width and the girth of that needle might make the difference. It might not, but I'm willing to give it a try. And this is where people, the naysayers, are saying, see, this is why we don't do live streams. Because you run into these problems and you can't take them back. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. All right, let's give this a try with a smaller needle. Kind of like, what does it take? If you try to use a big wide needle to pop a balloon, you're not going to be able to pop it. But if you use a real small, sharp needle, semi-sharp, you might be able to. All right. Let's try this one more time. The other thing I'll do, this is just a thought, but to give the machine an initial opportunity to get some momentum going, I'm going to put the leather on the bottom. And if this doesn't work, then doggone it, we tried. We tried, right? We tried. Well, I'm going to admit defeat. I'm going to admit defeat because apparently I'm just pushing it a little bit too far for this stop action. We were able to pull off a lot of sew offs. I'm going to revisit those because we've got every reason to be happy with what we were able to accomplish with this 1912 66-1. We went through 18 layers of Amazon packing parchment paper. We went through 2 layers of genuine cowhide. We did 6 layers, I believe, of heavy grade denim. Velvet's no big deal, but we did velvet too. We did 3 layers of snakeskin material. I almost assaulted the Singer repairman. Single layer of cowhide. And then also, obviously, we sewed cotton. So all in all, the successful sew-offs we did looks like this. So I'm good with that. We'll go ahead and wrap this up. And yeah, sometimes you reach the limit of what a machine can do based on its design. We did that today. So God bless everybody. And we'll save 3 layers of leather for another day. Thanks, leaders, for taking care of the family. God bless. Take care. Bye.